My name is Todd Moster. I am the CEO of Franchise Solutions Group. I'm a franchise consultant. I work with a lot of different candidates who are looking to start their own business. Many are interested in what you would think of as a typical franchise, a Subway, a pizza place. What people don't realize is that there are many different kinds of franchises, at one of which I'm going to be presenting to you today. It's a business consulting franchise that is well established, a record of success, is worldwide. It works with corporate clients, and believe it or not, it provides savings for these corporate clients, and they don't even have to pay out of pocket for the services. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it really is true and demonstrated. And I have Jessica McLean here, who is a development executive for SCHOOLEY Mitchell. This is the business that I've been telling you about. She's in Stratford, Canada, and here to tell us about the company. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. And if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about what SCHOOLEY Mitchell is all about and what makes it such a great franchise?
Sure thing, Todd, and thank you so much for having me today. So SCHOOLEY Mitchell has been around now for just over 20 years, about 22 years. And we are not a pizza restaurant or a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A, like you mentioned, that a lot of people, I think of when they think of franchising. So we are a B2B consulting system and franchise. So our franchisees function as consultants. And ultimately, what they're doing is offering a risk-free service, like you said, to businesses related to cost reductions. So what we do is we evaluate expenses. We now actively look at 8 different areas for any type of business that you could think of that's out there, small, medium-sized, large businesses. And we conduct audits in areas like telecom expenses, shipping expenses, waste expenses, utilities. And in a lot of these areas, businesses are spending a lot of money, and in most cases, they don't have generally a complete idea of why they're spending the money that they are. So we come in and our franchisees tell them about our service, and we conduct a risk-free audit where we identify recommendations for savings and optimization for our clients. In almost every case, there's something that we're able to do. Our average is usually around 28% or so that we're able to reduce costs. And when they do accept our recommendations, which is quite common, our franchisee is then compensated through the savings that we identify and acquire for our clients. So the businesses that we work with, that our franchisees are working with all across North America, never pay anything out of pocket for our service. They simply share in the savings that we identify, assuming they decide to accept them. And so because of that, it's just one of those services that are out there that a lot of people may not think of or haven't heard of, yet when they hear of it, they sort of raise an eyebrow, and usually the response is that makes a lot of sense.
Very interesting. And if I were to become a franchise owner of SCHOOLEY Mitchell, am I going to have to become an expert in all of these areas of cost savings that you described? Perhaps I'm the CEO of a major company, but I have people who report to me in all these areas. So
Sure.
If I'm talking to clients and, you're talking about specific things, you're doing an audit, can you tell me a little bit about how that works for me as a franchise owner?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think for you or for anybody who's learning or looking at an opportunity like ours, one of the things that you'll usually think about pretty early on is, hold on a minute, do I have to become a trash, merchant services, telecom, shipping expert, right? And then what does that learning curve look like for me, if so? Because the majority of our franchisees don't come from backgrounds in any of the particular areas that we evaluate. They come from, their C-level execs or VPs from corporate America, corporate Canada. Some of them will have some entrepreneurial or consulting type experience. So with that being said, the answer to your question is no, Todd. We're set up in a way where the actual expertise in the auditing part of our process is centralized at our corporate office up here in Ontario. So when a franchisee acquires a client, and let's say that they want to move forward with a merchant services audit, for example, they'll actually submit the client to our corporate team. We'll look after the back end audit and establishing the recommendations for savings. We'll review the report with our franchisee, of course, to make sure that they're comfortable with it and they understand it. And then they'll present the results to their client. And typically, our team will be present, or at the very least, offer to be present via Zoom, like what we're doing right now, or conference call. So that way, if a CFO throws a question at a franchisee about the specifics of merchant services or trash, they have their team of experts and analysts there to support them in those recommendations.
So one of the things that I get as an owner, as a franchise owner, is access to what sounds like a brain trust of experts in these various areas, which I can choose to either keep out there and I would be the representative, or I can have them with me as my team on a telephone call or a Zoom with the clients.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. And I mean, it also, one thing that it does is it shows the businesses that our franchisees are engaged with that they're not a one man, one woman, one person shop out there doing this. They are part of a bigger, well-established, well-developed brand. And they have, this team of people and analysts and experts, who are completing these audits and supporting them in these presentations.
Got it. And let's say that I am a CFO of a Fortune 500 company and I'm making a good salary, but I'm tired of working for somebody else. I want to develop my own business, leave something to my family, what have you. And certainly marketing is part of every business, but it hasn't been my part. I've had people reporting to me in marketing.
Sure.
Every business has to develop clients. How does SCHOOLEY Mitchell help the franchise owner develop clients? And is it something they do themselves or something that the company helps them with, or some combination?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one of the most important elements or aspects of a franchise system like ours is that we have best practices, processes, programs in place, particularly related to client acquisition and marketing, that we as the franchisor provide to our franchisees. They should never come into a system like this and feel like they have to reinvent the wheel, right? Or come up with these things themselves. Now, with that being said, we also have some more obvious and direct lead generation type options for our franchisees. So we have an appointment setting and a telemarketing team that runs out of our corporate office as well. And that is just as it sounds. So that's a group of people that our franchisees can invest in. It's an optional program. And they'll make calls on behalf of our franchisees and refer to them as a local consultant. And they will set appointments for them with a CFO, COO, with a decision maker. And then the franchisee's role just becomes attending that appointment, whether it be via Zoom or in person, and acquiring the client from there. So quite a few of our franchisees will take advantage of that option. From the franchisee's perspective, it's really about, here's everything that we have. Here's what we know works and has been proven over the course of the past 20 years or so that we've been doing this. And then the franchisee has the freedom and autonomy to implement those things as they see fit into their schedule.
And what kind of expenses are involved if you're starting a SCHOOLEY Mitchell franchise? In other words, am I going to have to go out and get an office? Am I going to have to hire employees? What's that situation?
Yeah, so with us, and again, I'll take it back to the pizza reference or the Chick-fil-A or, the franchises out there that are a brick and mortar type setup. You're dealing with a location and you're dealing with cups and straws and supplies and inventory at a markup. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different type of business than what we have. So with us, our franchisees are home-based. There's no office location required at all. So there's really very low overhead, which some people are really drawn to. This is the kind of business where our franchisees get what they put into it. So the most important element is the time commitment. But really there's no overhead as it relates to things like supplies and so on and so forth that you would see with more of a standard, brick and mortar setup, like I said.
And I know that you folks have been busy over at SCHOOLEY Mitchell. Can you tell us something about how the franchise itself has been growing over the last year or two?
Yeah. I mean, I would never suggest that the last year or two has been great for the world, because it's been an interesting time, to say the least. And we've had a pandemic, of course, thrown at us that nobody knew was coming. But I appreciate the question because for us, as a business and as a system, it really has been a great time for us, and we've experienced a lot of growth. Last year alone in 2020, we added about 100 new franchise locations to our system. And the reason, Todd, is really because of the nature of what you and I have been talking about and the nature of what we do. So because we offer a service that is risk-free and that involves cost reduction, the state of the economy doesn't impact our franchisees' ability to do what they do, right? So if the economy has taken a hit for, one reason or another, or a pandemic, or, the different things that can happen, in our world, a service like what we offer is still really appealing to businesses because in a lot of cases, they're actually actively looking for ways to cut costs and reallocate budgets and so on and so forth. So it's been a really good and exciting time for us overall.
Great description. Thank you so much for telling us about Schooly Mitchell, Jessica. I work with a lot of different types of candidates. Many are experienced entrepreneurs or high-level C-level executives who love business. They live and breathe it, and they're not necessarily interested in the normal type of franchise that people think of. I'm so happy to have an option, an interesting and affordable option like Schooly Mitchell to present to them. I've been presenting folks like that, and I will continue to do so. And I very much look forward to continuing to work with you. In the meantime, thank you for taking your valuable time to tell us more about Schooly Mitchell.
Thank you again so much for having me, and we love working with you and look forward to continue working with you.